He's on here. You're on. Get in there. Tonight on the roast, the latest polls name Kevin Rudd as preferred Prime Minister, and Iran has a new president.
Sorry, everyone. I'll take it from here, big guy. Yes. Right, well, it's our first night back. We're all a bit sluggish. It was a week off, and what a week it was. For me, I got a new broom. Sweep City. What about everyone else? Did anything happen? Someone catch me up.
Welcome to the Roast Recap, Julia Gillard Week.
I invite you to imagine it. A Prime Minister, a man with a blue tie, who goes on holidays to be replaced by a man in a blue tie.
We have Mr Bruff and Mr Hockey at a function with this grossly sexist and offensive menu on display.
Tim's gay.
Well,
No, that's not me saying it, that's a myth.
well, that's absurd.
Yeah, but you hear it. He must be gay, he's a hairdresser.
I don't think it's appropriate for a Prime Minister to be showing her cleavage in Parliament. It's not something I want to see.
What a load of
Well, I think it's inappropriate and unprofessional.
Grace, can you...
No, I'm
sort of
sorry.
just
No,
explain,
Bernard,
can
I'm
you
not here to
just
debate
explain,
you. I think it's
just
inappropriate
explain,
and unprofessional,
how-
and
just
I'm
explain
entitled to
how.
my opinion.
And that's the Roast Recap for this week.
Wow, so no one else got a new broom. Rough. And it was a particularly rough week for the Prime Minister because it seems like a lot of people acted as though she wasn't the Prime Minister. So to look at this recent media treatment of Ms Gillard, we'll cross now to Nick Richardson. Nick, what happened?
Yeah, Tom, let's face it, we weren't ready for a female Prime Minister. We thought we were. We thought we could be big and grown up and progressive and mature about it, but we f***ed it. We should have just taken it slower. Maybe started off with a male PM that has a girl's name like Tony with an I or Sam, and then elect someone with man boobs and just ease our way into it. Instead, we just jumped into the deep end and we're not ready.
Okay, what makes you think we're not ready?
Well, Tom, her genitalia were referenced on the menu of people hoping to one day lead the country. Somebody actually asked her if her partner was gay because he's a hairdresser. I mean, what is this, the 70s? Even worse, I was going to interview her earlier today and I saw some of the notes left behind by the journalist before me. Tom, it was just a drawing of a smiling penis. What the hell is going on? Where are our standards? Supposedly, Ms Gillard shows too much cleavage, even though everyone is perfectly happy for Abbott to shrink Rappy's balls.
Okay, so why have some parts of the media focused so heavily on her gender?
Well, sadly, this left many Australians completely unprepared for this. You see what happened there, Tom? There was a string of one thing and then bam, you get a different thing. But I guess it's our fault. We elected 26 consecutive white Christian married men as Prime Minister and then expected everyone not to panic when we got an unmarried atheist woman. It's just a reflex. I mean, God knows if I ever met a real woman in the street, I'd freak out and wet myself.
Really? So what happened when we got a female Governor General?
I wet myself.
Okay, but Nick, men aren't peeing themselves in all those other countries with female leaders like Germany and South Korea and Brazil and Costa Rica and Lithuania and Switzerland.
Yeah. They're just better people than us, Tom. Don't hold me to a standard. If we want to catch up with those progressive countries like Kosovo, then we'll have to try getting used to those 3.5 billion not men we've shared the planet with since the beginning of time. Back to you, Tom.
Well, staying with the Prime Minister, and the latest opinion polls are not looking good for her. According to today's Nielsen poll, Kevin Rudd leads Ms Gillard as preferred Labor leader by 58% to 32%. Numbers that would ordinarily please Tony Abbott, except that on the coalition side, Malcolm Turnbull leads him in the preferred leader stakes 62 points to 32, which means Australia's current favourites for the job of Prime Minister are two people who are not in the running to be Prime Minister, and those who are running are both disliked equally. Which is nice, I guess. I mean, it shows it's a fair and balanced system. But despite the polls, no one seriously believes that the coalition is going to switch leaders this close to an election. I mean, most politicians tell us they don't even pay attention to the polls.
Polls come and go, but the only poll that matters is on election day.
Well, at least they're listening to us when it comes to choosing a Prime Minister.
Julia Gillard will challenge Kevin Rudd to become the first female Prime Minister of Australia.
So if no one's paying attention to polls, then the whole polling system's useless. Well, that is, of course, unless you're playing in the Roast's Election Fantasy League.
Live! It's the Election Fantasy League on EFL TV. Proudly brought to you by Nielsen Polls. The only poll that matters is a Nielsen poll. And now, here are your hosts,
Rachel and the Hum.
Hey, welcome again to EFL TV, the show dedicated to the fantasy that Australians can select their own leaders.
And what a show we have for you today with a brand new poll in from the good folks at Nielsen. Humph, you've put together your fantasy Labor Party. Who's your captain?
Well, I hate to be obvious, Rachel, but for me, it's got to be the comeback kid.
You are not talking about the micromanager with a 3-year-old knife in his back.
Yes!
Oh.
The original horrible boss himself, Mr. Kevin, I'll only lead if you beg me, Rudd.
Oh, he is on so many people's wish list.
Well, after being on the bench for 2 years, I know he's ready to get out there, so I'm tagging him in. That's right, Kevin Rudd is my Labor Leader of the Week. And because he's going to need a back to sign those autographs on, I'm also signing up Chris Bowen as Deputy/Table.
Oh, that is very interesting, Humph.
Well, who are you liking, Rachel?
Look, Humph, you are going to be surprised with this one, I reckon.
Oh, no, it's not who I'm thinking, is it? Turnbull.com. Geez, Rachel, we haven't heard too much of him recently. Why now?
Look, he did look very good on Q&A last week in that leather jacket. You know me, Humph, if there's one thing I like more than a silver fox, it's a silver fox and a dead cow. And his polling figures aren't too shabby either. 62 points to Abbott's 32. There's no doubt that people really want him.
Well, we know that doesn't matter. Now, for all the Labor leadership speculation, no one has considered putting the Deputy Prime Minister in.
Old Swanee.
Treasurer Swan.
You're right, no one picks him for leader.
It's almost like he didn't steer us out of a potentially crippling recession.
In fact, it's almost like he has no charisma. Now, of course, while we here at EFL headquarters have been having great fun in our fantasy league, one politician is playing this for real.
Who are you talking about, Rachel?
Humph, it's Clive Palmer.
Mr. Moneybags.
Too right. Look at the candidates he's announced for the Palmer United Party. We've got former NRL player Glenn Lazarus, former AFL footballer Doug Hawkins, former soccer player Scott Higgins.
Hang on, these are his actual candidates. I mean, this isn't the Fantasy Football League.
That's right. It's a who's who of anyone who used to be someone.
Well, with all this talk of the lower house, we need to look at that other house.
The upper house?
No, Tom Waterhouse. Should we cost a hit for some odds?
No. That's about it from us here at Election Fantasy TV.
And remember, if you would like to play along at home, just contact your local polling agency and soon you too can pretend to have any influence over who leads the major parties. Tom?
Well, finally tonight, Iran has a new president, and Iran's interior minister made sure the whole world found out about it by literally speaking into every microphone ever invented. I have to say, compared to that guy, I feel pretty exposed here. So, Marty, could we... Hey, that's better. Now the... Oh, no, lose him. Now, the new president is Hassan Rouhani, pictured here endorsing Sony's latest minicam. And he's been well received by the international community. Following his victory, major powers have been quick to offer to engage with the former nuclear negotiator. But of course, this is the Middle East, and following the election, Twitter reported that tens of thousands of Iranians had taken to the streets. So here we go again, violent protest time.
That the streets have been filled with celebrations and not protests.
So what now? Well, I'm sure they'll change their mind once they hear that Rouhani has radically different stands on personal freedoms, women's rights and censorship. That's right, here we go again, violent repression time.
He has pledged to restore international confidence in Iran, create a ministry for women ensuring equal rights and pay, and to get international sanctions on Iran's energy and banking sectors lifted.
This is Iran we're talking about, right? The axis of evil, the nuclear menace, the place where they still stone people to death. Look, let's cross live to Clark Richards, who joins us from Tehran. Jesus, Clark, I had no idea. What's the crisis?
What's the crisis? The crisis is we didn't have enough time to make new graphics.
Sorry, Clark, could you crouch down?
No, I don't need to, Tom. There's no danger.
Yeah, it's just I can't see your face.
Fine. Well, Tom...
Yeah, okay, just one sec. We'll go from the top.
Okay, just don't roll that stupid opening graphic.
Okay, now, Clark, tell me about the new president, Hassan Rouhani.
Top President Rouhani was born in 1948 in Sorka. He's a family man, served as a Member of Parliament from 1980 to 2000, and was appointed to the Assembly of Experts in the year 2000.
Sounds terrifying.
No, Tom, nothing I just said then was terrifying.
No, but Clark, the graphics and the sounds and the thing they did to your voice.
No, we just didn't have time to update the graphics template. Now, Hassan Rouhani won the election with a massive 18.6 million votes, and he has so far promised a constructive approach to nuclear talks.
Okay, sorry, just to interrupt you there, Clark. By constructive, do you mean destructive?
No.
Okay, and how has the rest of the world reacted?
Well, everybody seems to be on board. France is ready to work with them. Germany has welcomed the election with open
God,
arms.
Clark, are you being shot at?
No, Tom, those gunshots are part of the soundtrack we've got for all our Middle East reports. feel horrible. I mean, Rouhani even announced plans for a ministry for women. It's a big step forward for Iran.
Okay, but Clark, do you really think Australia is ready to accept a stable Iran? I mean, we can't even accept a female Prime Minister.
We should try. I don't want Australia to be known as the country that's less progressive than Iran.
Yeah, baby steps. All right, now let's hurry up and end this Middle Eastern report the right way.
No, Tom. Don't you do that thing where the camera turns to the night vision and cuts off in the middle of a sentence for no apparent...
Clark Richards there, missing and presumed dead.
I'm not dead, guys. You just turn the camera off. Guys?